What?
Red 7!
I don't know what Red 7 means.
Hot route!
I don't. What is hot route?
Will you just go stand on the other side, please?
Down! Ready, down, set, hut, 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 hut!
Hit me! Booyah! That's what we call a sack lunch. Nom, 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 nom.
It's time for the Soonerscoop.com postgame show presented by Eskridge Lexus in Oklahoma City. Eskridge Lexus is the official travel partner of Soonerscoop.com podcasts. Now, here's your road crew, Carey, Eddie, and Bob, wrapping up all the action and reaction from this week's game.
All right, welcome back. It is another edition. It's not after a game, but it is the Eskridge Lexus pregame, I guess we could call it.
There you go.
Weekly look into the Orange Bowl as the Sooners going through Media Day today. And let's welcome in now Bob Pertzbillo, who you just heard say something, and Eddie Radosevich, who is laying on his hotel bed.
Hello.
We're coming to you live from
well.
Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we just had Media Day today. Lincoln Riley sat on the podium for about 75 minutes as they get ready to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. I don't know how much realer this made it today, but tomorrow Lincoln Riley and Nick Saban will have one final press conference. It's 45 minutes. But today we had a lot of time to talk with a lot of youngsters on the team. I sat with Lincoln Riley for a little bit and talked with him. But, I mean, this thing is here, and here's Lincoln Riley talking about where they are and what a win could mean against Alabama.
Lincoln, I mean, you talk about coming back to this position so many times. And not that it's a must, but how big would it be for this program to finally kind of move on to a championship scenario?
Yeah, I don't know. Finally, this program's been in a lot of championships, but yeah, I mean, sure. It's really tough to get here. It's great being here, but we expected to win the first two that we were in, and we expect to win this one, and so we've always approached it that way. We know we're playing a great opponent, just like we have here the first couple of times that we've been in these playoffs. That's what they're about. We've been really close, and certainly we want to finish the deal, but not for what's happened in the past, just for this team right now. What's in the past is in the past, and this team right now has a chance, as good a chance as anybody, and we want to take advantage because we do know how hard it is to get here.
For you as a coach, I mean, you start out as a coordinator, then you're head coach. How much just has this program learned about being in this situation in the playoffs?
Yeah, you've learned a lot. I mean, even like a day like today, you don't do this at any other bowl game anywhere. I mean, there's just some different things that go with these playoffs. The build up seems like the entire country is focused on two games for about 30 days, and so there's a lot of attention, a lot of build up, a few different things that you have to do as far as handling it. I think our team's ready. None of this is new for us. The schedule, the early signing day, all that we talked about back in Norman is still a big factor, and handling all that, and I think we're more equipped to do it than we've ever been.
So everything with OU, the new facilities, the Jordan brand, 3 5-stars already signed with a possible fourth on the way in this recruiting class. Everything has been elevated, talent level, talent acquisition elevated. Now you're sitting here third time in 4 years in the college football playoff. And I think the next step is really just to win this game.
No, absolutely. This is the next step you have to take if you want to get to the top of that mountain or wherever they want to go. I mean, you've filled in the recruiting. I think the lack thereof that they had, in the latter years of the Bob Stoops era, and that's obvious. But now this is the next step, and taking down, and maybe this is the way it's supposed to be, and taking down the big dog that has been up at the top of the college football mountain for so long over the last 5 years in a school like Alabama.
And this is like the rite of passage. 3 years ago against Clemson, we knew they weren't physical, they weren't tough enough,
they weren't ready.
Right, they weren't. Last year they were closer and closer. This is the year. Get over the hump.
And how interesting is it, though, that it's with literally the worst defense in the history of the college football playoff?
Yeah.
So, we've talked about it on the podcast.
So is this like a hall pass year?
Almost a little bit.
That's a good question.
We've talked
really
about it on
question.
the Unofficial 40, though. It's like, I think that the landscape of college football as we know it would change in a way if Oklahoma was able to get over that hump. because they would be doing it literally without a defense. But I will say
Nick Saban and Kirby Smart would simultaneously have aneurysms.
Yeah, combust. But I will say that it's not like they haven't played defense, because they have. I mean, they wouldn't be here if they didn't play any type of defense against Texas or West Virginia. It's now for the whole season.
They had to play some defense to get here. Yes.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say.
And what I pointed out is that in the last 2 games in the fourth quarter, the OU defense has outscored the 2 teams 9-7, 7-7. Morgantown 2-0 versus Texas. They get destroyed, but somehow in the fourth quarter they found some resolve somewhere to make a play when it mattered most.
The other thing to think about if you're Oklahoma is you're here. You're here now. It would take a monumental effort to beat Alabama, but let's say you don't win this game. Let's say all this momentum you've built, and I don't want to be alarmist here, but you got Georgia waiting in the wings. I don't know if Clemson's, maybe they're not going to be where they were next year if they, when they lose all these guys.
Well, I think as long as Trevor Lawrence is around, they're still going to be pretty damn
they're going to be pretty good
Quarterback
offensively.
play means something.
And who knows what happens in the Big Ten with Ohio State with Ryan Day. I mean, you are trying to, like you said, not only elevate your program into the elite, but other guys are knocking at your door.
Well, and
there's a potential that 3 or 4 would mean nothing. And Lincoln's going to recruit well, but you've got to break through at some point.
Well, and let's face it, if they can't get it done this year, you're officially probably have wasted 2 of the best quarterbacks to ever play at the school.
Yeah.
And I hate using the word waste because they've won a lot of games and they've won championships.
And they have
Big
2
12
statues that are going to be built on campus.
I mean, their legacy is going to live on in Norman forever, but I think everybody knows the Oklahoma fan base, they want a national title, and it would be seen as a failure for either of those guys, and that's just the way it is for Baker, and Kyler has an opportunity that will present itself on Saturday, but and I also think, you look at Oklahoma and you look at the Big 12 in a way, if Oklahoma's not able to get it done, it's going to the conference that already has taken a hit and probably unfairly has taken a hit because it's been Oklahoma that has carried the conference for so long. It will be looked at as a conference, and even maybe what Kyler's done throughout the season, it'll be looked at, well, he just did it against defenses that, couldn't stop anybody, and they got the benefit of the doubt because of the logo on their helmet.
And then when you go in the next year, they get in a situation like this, maybe Georgia does end up in. If you don't win any of these games, you're going to prove all those national critics and those SEC fanboys correct, that you just can't get it done when it matters most.
We did not see your good buddy JoJo today. We did see Herb Street. JoJo's not here.
I don't think he's down here.
They're not letting him come.
Herbie was down here.
This is too good
though.
A game.
Herbie was down here.
Herbie was down here. Chris Fowler was down here. Tell us what you tweeted today.
I tweeted this morning that Herb Street had walked up into Media Day with a Georgia should have been here sign, and you would
Baker Mayfield style.
It would be unbelievable to think the people that thought that was real. Like, I had to reiterate.
Well, it's kind of like when I said that Marquise Brown passed away yesterday.
Yeah, well,
he came back to life.
He did come back to life. But yeah, Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler, I guess they're on the call on Saturday night.
We can't ever trust none of your Sooner Scoop reporting.
Well,
jackasses.
Stop being poor.
Okay, listen, I want to remind you guys that one of the reasons we're doing all these pods while we're here in Fort Lauderdale is because of Eskridge Lexus and also Coop Ale Works. So Eskridge Lexus, they got their December to remember. It's running out. Time's running out. If maybe you're in trouble because you got some shitty Christmas presents or something, and you want to impress the wife, go check out Eskridge Lexus at Eskridge. It's the December to remember. A lot of new 2019 inventory on the lot right now. And also, you're seeing these commercials while you're watching the bowl games all over television. They've got huge special holiday incentives right now. And if you tell them you're a Sooner Scoop podcast listener or subscriber, you will get special Eskridge Lexus deals on your next Lexus. So thanks to Ed Eskridge, thanks to Lexus, EskridgeLexus.com. Go check them out. Okay, one of the things that is going to come out of this game when it's over with and done is something we kind of had to talk a little bit about today, which is the coaching changes. And all the coaches were available. Pete Golding was asked about the Oklahoma job today. He said he's had no contact with Oklahoma. Barry Trammell, I know, asked Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley didn't really get peppered with too many questions about it today while he had his media session. But Lincoln, I know Barry Trammell asked him a question. He said he's never met him, doesn't know a whole lot about him other than his reputation in the coaching fraternity. But we had a chance to catch up with DaShaun White and Bookie, which if you haven't seen the video, go to Soonerscoop.com. It's free.
For sure. Go
check it out. Just a great kid.
I'm back on the
back
bandwagon.
on board.
If you've
I'm
been
back on the
frustrated with
bandwagon.
Bookie and his I don't know what
he's had an up and down year. He's had an up and down year.
The sledgehammer.
down.
We talked about the sledgehammer.
Right.
Rest in peace, Sledgehammer Book.
But we talked to both of those. Here's DaShaun White, a really talented freshman linebacker, talking about the coaching changes.
I know, we get so caught up in recruits and, how they're handling, the changes that have gone through this year in the defensive coaching staff. How do you guys just internally handle that as players? Are you backing these coaches? You want to see them stay here at Oklahoma? Or are you just kind of wondering what's going to go on? How do you handle it?
I think we're definitely backing these coaches. We love these coaches. Kish, we love these guys. We love Ruff. We love everyone. So it's also one of those things, it's out of our hands. So whatever happens, we'll have to take it and run with it.
And here is Bookie on the same thing.
A lot of people on the outside wonder okay, first they sort of, how are recruits going to take this with a coaching change on defense? How have you guys as players taken this with the change in coordinator and having some uncertainty heading into the offseason?
It's, from like Buzzy said, like he said when our coaching change went down, we restarted this year. After that Texas game and everything, and everything went downhill, I guess you could say. I don't see it that way, but I feel as if it was a fresh new start for us. Coach Ruff, he's a player's guy. He's a guy that we want to be around, and it was just overall a great experience. It was just, seeing that transition, that bye week experience. We won the bye week, and therefore turned everything around. TCU game showed for it.
So are players behind Ruff and behind the coaching staff now? You want to see them stick around after the season's over?
Everybody is bought into this program. Everybody in this locker room is bought into this program success. We all love each other. We all are ready to go forward.
And I think you listen to that and you say, maybe there's a chance. But
no.
Honestly, there's no chance. There's no chance.
There is no chance, but
what
a peculiar situation it would be if they won the national title.
And you brought that up a lot, and I was going to say that. I have to think that Lincoln Riley at least would be like, look, we need to bring in somebody that has a system that we can recruit to.
I don't think
that can build continuity.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Because it's just not a garbled mess, but you've just got a bunch of assistants right now.
Now
you don't have a coordinator.
The thought of he brings in a coordinator and possibly more guys stay than Calvin Thibodeau, sure,
right,
that might happen. I still would say that. This is projecting, but I still think that this is probably Tim Kish's last go around on the bike. I think this is just a situation that they could cut bait and say, thank you. This is a great way to send you out type deal.
Yeah.
And you still got to get over. You still got to beat Alabama and win another game after that before we get into that kind of situation.
There's two natural ones. There's Kish retiring, and there's Ruffin going to more of an advisor role. And if those happen, that would shock absolutely no one and open up a line where you could bring a DC, you could bring maybe one or two of his guys, and you could still make it work.
And maybe you have to make that move with Ruffin just because you have to pay $1 million for a DC or something. Of course, Mike Stoops was getting that, and Ruffin had a pretty good payday. So,
yeah,
there's a lot of
I guess to backdoor this
parts
into the defensive coordinator stuff too is just, Pete Golding was asked today at Alabama's portion of the media today if he had been contacted by OU, and obviously he said he hadn't. He said that he lets his agents handle all that. I think it's safe to say though right now, I truly believe that the Golding thing isn't happening. Maybe more so than I ever did.
Well, we were driving, and you brought the Football Scoop had put something out there, but it really wasn't anything that was new.
Well, it was the most Football Scoop update of all time. It was a. This is what we know. This is what you should know.
I literally posted the same thing like a month ago.
Yeah. That this is what we know, basically.
Golding is not likely to be a candidate, and Alex Grinch
would be maybe your key guy.
Yeah.
And listen, we're not going to know anything until after January 1st at minimum or at the earliest, because Ohio State still has the Rose Bowl to play in.
Yeah.
And if OU were to win, Riley's not doing anything until after January 7th.
You think he's going to talk about that the week of the national championship game?
Well, all that stuff is to come, like you guys say. Today was really about Alabama, and kind of what I loved about today and what I loved about after it was all over with was trying to see how much of that SEC boastfulness was in some of the questions being asked of Lincoln Riley, like, it's the SEC, how can you compete? Kind of like that kind of stuff. And there was a little bit of that. One guy basically asked Lincoln Riley, it was a very offensive question, if because they did so much against Georgia's defense last year, if that gave them confidence, which might be a fair question, but I don't think it really was. I don't think Lincoln did either.
No. I mean, we just, no matter what league you play, man, you just go play people that are out there. We've played, Georgia was a really good team and a really good defense. Through the last several years, we've played a lot of really good teams and really good defenses regardless of what league they're in. So, that was a different team, different time. This is Alabama this year.
I walked away this morning, and I didn't talk to a whole lot of the Alabama players, but just talking to people that did from the Oklahoma media side and getting the general sense of what you saw on Twitter, and I'm sure a lot of people that listened saw it all, there is a lot of, I don't know if cocky is the right word, but it just, in a way, it makes you kind of walk away. Confidence, well, and rightfully so, because Alabama...
Borderline arrogance.
Right. Borderline arrogance, but maybe this thought that I think that there's a lot of people, and listen to Paul Feinbaum, that think it's funny that Oklahoma even thinks that they have a chance to be on the same field as Alabama.
Yeah.
Like, I think that the thought of Oklahoma putting up 35 on Alabama to a lot of people in this building right now in the media hotel is laughable in a way.
It's what was put on the board today, is I think what happens is somebody says something and you could run with it so many different ways.
Yeah.
Like Quinnen Williams said, he wants to shut OU out, but he wants to shut everybody. That's just how Quinnen Williams thinks. Well,
the other side of that too is what defensive guy would you not want thinking that going into the game?
But you know what? Alabama can do that. I mean, they shut teams out.
Yeah, that's what they've done.
That's what they're built on.
Yes. This shit.
So it's and yes, it may sound arrogant, but he's just doing what Alabama defensive players do and their best ones do.
That's no different than Kyler sitting up there and saying that they want to score in every possession, right?
Yeah. But you know what? OU's going to score sometime in the first quarter in this game. I would be shocked if they didn't. And when that happens, there's going to be some things just like against Georgia last year where Alabama goes, holy shit, this is not like anything that we've seen this year.
It is. You hear it and they talk about it as far as you can't simulate it in practice, and I truly believe something like that is you can't really generate the type of speed that OU works at until you actually go see it, and you're kind of in the middle of it, and then it's all of a sudden, oh shit, here it comes.
And what it comes down to is like everybody. Well, here's Lincoln Riley just talking about the challenge facing Alabama.
As a competitor, I know the coaches preach consistency, but as a competitor, do you get fired up for the challenge of game planning to go up against an Alabama team like this?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are, they've been the standard here for the last several years, and had a great program. They've been great defensively, really taken some big steps offensively in the last few years. I mean, with quality of players and then what they do schematically, they challenge you as much as anybody you're going to play.
Now, what are the chances that same guy asked Nick Saban the exact same question if he gets fired up about the challenge of facing Oklahoma?
Somebody did ask Saban about that today, and he said that Lincoln Riley was, in his opinion, the toughest offense coordinator he's game planned against.
Interesting.
There you go.
Maybe the same guy did ask that question.
He might have. It might have been just some old scrub from Miami that doesn't really care what people think.
You guys saw Georgia last year. Did the Bama look bigger than Georgia?
Yes, I thought they did.
I don't know. Roquan Smith. So when I saw him, I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, there's some guys for Alabama, and it's no slight to Oklahoma. Maybe it could be taken as that, but I mean, they're just bigger. They're flat out fucking bigger.
Yeah, Kenneth Murray. I mean, he's your best Greek god example,
right?
On the OU, and he looks great, but
Yeah.
but like who was the number 24 Alabama guy, their linebacker? I can't remember his name now.
Yeah. I know.
Was standing there. Herb Street was talking to him at the end. I was just sitting there going, "That dude is massive."
Yeah, they have massive people,
and he's not skinny. Like I remember, oh God, I always forget the name of the middle linebacker that played for Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. C.J. Miles.
Mosley?
C.J. Mosley.
Yeah.
And I remember going to media day, and he was there the day like the coordinators were there. I remember looking at him going, "This is what an Alabama linebacker is supposed to look like now." Like he looked like not even a tight end.
Yeah.
But they're not great at linebacker. They're not great in the secondary. They're fantastic up front. So that's I'm
interested to read Josh's Under the Hood this week because he kind of outlined that as, they're still really, really good, but he doesn't think that they're that 2013
elite.
team that was elite.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing about this matchup is, that Georgia team last year was a really good team. Defensively, they were really good. I mean, their defensive line gave Oklahoma troubles at 52, I think it was. Roquan Smith was really good. They had good. I mean, they just had a guy win the Thorpe Award that was in that secondary last year, who, by the way, is not playing in the Sugar Bowl apparently.
Hook 'em.
Horns up for peace.
Horns up for peace. Big shout out today on Feinbaum, by the way. Thank you to Jason
That
Kersey.
was big time by Jason Kersey. Yeah. He's earning that time he got on the pod last night.
Absolutely.
By the way, but here's the thing. Like, I think the Alabama media, people, fans, they still feel like this is the Big 12. This is the little brother. They don't understand how good OU's offensive line is. And so there were a lot of those questions today about the matchups and the offensive line versus the defensive line. And you kind of heard that there, the challenge of Alabama. Here's some of Lincoln Riley talking about that.
I hope it's a lot of fun. It's going to be a great matchup. I mean, there's no doubt. It's like going against Ohio State's, defensive line. What was it last year? When they were, as talented as you'll ever see across the board. It'll be a heavyweight fight. But that's what it should be in these games.
And we've talked so much about Quinnen Williams. The one thing that we haven't got a chance to really talk about, and look, don't go here because I know where this is going to go immediately. We've never really celebrated the Creed Humphrey center thing and what he's meant to that offensive line. I mean, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
But this,
it's no cool. They got better when he became the starter.
But this is really his first time to shine on the national stage.
Yeah.
True.
Like he's a center that everybody knows has made them better. He's a massive center. We all said that even last year when he was redshirting. Like he's going to change their offensive line in the future because they've never had a center like this before. Well, he's going to get a taste of Quinnen Williams tomorrow, and Lincoln Riley talked a little bit about Creed Humphrey and kind of what he's meant.
It's been a game changer for us, really. I mean, that's, he's probably the biggest difference, both from this year to maybe comparing our O-line to the other years. He's a dominant center, and you don't come across those very often in coaching. It's just difficult position to do, especially to do it as a freshman. The way he's done has been huge for our group. It's I think made us tougher to defend.
And then he had this little, I think, interesting nugget that he threw out there.
Yeah, no, it'll be a good matchup. I mean, those guys, it won't be their last matchup. Yeah.
Basically saying they're going to see each other in the NFL.
Yeah, and it's funny that it comes against. I mean, Quinnen Williams. We talk to Gabe Eichert about it all the time. He thinks Quinnen Williams is bar none one of the best defensive linemen to come not just through Alabama, but to play college football in the last 20 years, which I think that speaks extremely highly of him. Guy I work with at the radio station, Kelly Gregg thinks he's amazing.
Yeah.
Dusty Dvorak thinks he's amazing. When you hear former defensive tackles talk about a guy like that, it's like, holy shit, okay, this guy is really good. And obviously turn on the tape and you can see what he brings to the table. But, we've talked about it a little bit, and I can't remember if we talked about it on the podcast last night, was just the fact I think the big player in this whole thing could be what Bill Beatenbow does and how he shapes up their game plan to block those guys up front.
Yeah, and there's going to be some wrinkles there.
Absolutely.
I totally believe
For sure.
Absolutely.
By the way,
you saw it against Ohio State last year.
we're going to continue bringing you pods tomorrow after the press conferences. Lincoln Riley and Nick Saban will both have joint press conference, and they'll do the photo shoot, and that'll wrap up the media, but we still have plenty more coming at Sooner Scoop. Bob has been writing the stories. I still have photos to get out there. We're doing the pods. Eddie's got lots of video up. We did some one-on-ones today with some of the younger guys that are up, and more of those are coming. But want to remind you guys that all that stuff is there, and the reason that we're bringing you all these pods, both Eskridge Lexus and Coop Ale Works, big sponsors that said, hey, we want you guys to bring us some more pods while you guys are out there covering the Sooners. So Coop Ale Works, go check out coopaleworks.com. Locally, a craft beer company that's been operating for 9 years. They've got 7 different annuals or year-round beers that they produce, along with 4 seasonal. But go to their website, coopaleworks.com. You can check out where you can find a Coop near you. And I've said this, to people before, like I've always drank, beer, Bud Light and Coors Light and Miller Light and all that stuff. But go try some Coop, man. It really does kind of change your perspective on what beer can taste like. And it's a local company you can supports the podcast. So, yeah, coopaleworks.com, thanks to them. So, guys, just overall, Bob, let's talk a little bit about kind of you were separate, I was separate, and then Eddie and I kind of spent some time together interviewing guys. Talked to Jonathan Alvarez. I can tell you some more about that. But kind of what was the highlights of your day today? Yeah,
it's fun to talk with those younger guys, especially the ones that didn't get to play that thought they would. You're looking at a Bray Walker, who's basically a 5-star kid, trying to accept the fact that he's not going to see the field ever, and he said it took him a while to realize that.
Ever? You mean this year?
That he was ready to roll, and all of a sudden he learns he's not the biggest, baddest dog there now. And for some of those guys, it takes a lot longer to accept that and move on. DaShaun White was another one who mentioned, he figured he'd have a much bigger role with the defense. Instead, special teams has sort of been his calling card. But you look at those guys, they stay positive and they fight through this. Those are the guys that start making their mark later. I remember doing this 3 years ago and talking to guys like Neville Gallimore, Bobby Evans, Cody Ford, guys that red shirting, you didn't know what they were going to do. If you can get over that initial disappointment, you realize there's some big things that can still be coming your way.
I'm sure it's a lot easier too to buy into the team atmosphere. Like I would think it'd be tough to do that on a team that goes 6-6 or 7-6 every year.
Yeah,
it's pretty easy when you're going to your 3rd college football playoff in 4 years to buy into the narrative or whatever you want to call it.
Those support staff people have to work harder, but their job is not as hard right now when you're going to the college football playoff year after year.
I mean, getting bussed around and a police escort and getting free Nike gear or Jordan Brand gear and living the life that they're living right now on South Beach, it's not too bad.
By the way, newsy stuff for you today. Austin Kendall was not at practice tonight. He wasn't at media day this morning. He was working out yesterday with the team, but he is under the weather, so maybe he got some of what Kyler had. I guess it'd be lucky that Kyler's not any worse than he is.
Yeah, that's kind of it's not a story right now, but all of a sudden Kyler gets knocked out of the game or something, and the backup quarterback wasn't practicing 2 days before the game. I mean, you're kind of in a little bit of a holy shit mode at that point, right? I don't know.
You got Tanner Mordecai
or Connor McGinnis or Tanner Schaefer.
Tanner Schaefer, yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ. I don't know if you want to get to that. And I love those guys. I mean, I talked to him this afternoon, but you want Austin Kendall back out there. And I'm sure that it was a precautionary measure. I don't know. Maybe Austin Kendall got kidnapped last night and is in Cuba now.
That's possible.
Nobody's thought about that, has they?
That has not been talked about, no.
Somebody had to bring it up.
And Clemson let their suspended defensive lineman talk to the media today?
Yeah, Dexter Lawrence.
That's weird.
Said that he didn't know how he got it in his body.
Mm-hmm.
That's always it's not the best route to go.
When 3 people test positive, it's not. Look, because I read up on that stuff. That stuff is not. You almost have, like, there's the thing about, it was in some meat. Like, that doesn't happen. It's only in illegal stuff.
Was it a steroid? Is that the?
It's a something that helps you build mass.
Yeah. Why does a guy that's 6'5", 320 need to be taking stuff?
I don't know.
I know.
Stick to the cocaine.
Saban announced that all three of those guys who were they're gone for the rest of the season.
Yeah, their suspensions,
yep,
their 3 suspensions. Marty Smith, what a blowhard.
I like Marty Smith.
I do. I told you earlier, I go through stages where I like him and then I don't like him. Right now, I'm in a not like stage. If he was here, I'd probably like him.
Because you're from the city. That's what it is.
I don't like the
you're
country
not really
folk.
from the city. You're almost from the country. I mean,
I'm a suburb guy.
Putnam North.
I'm a suburb guy.
You destroyed people's mailboxes as a youth.
I did.
You were so close to being country.
Yeah, I did. Just vandalism's kind of fun.
Well, that's what people do in the country when they're from the country. They vandalize.
But now I live in the city.
Mailboxes.
Now I live in the city. Now I'm a downtown guy.
So you're graffitiing.
Yeah. I'm the one writing Mary Fallon all over Oklahoma City.
Okay, so we've lined out the schedule for you tomorrow. I'm just trying to. I did talk to Jonathan Alvarez today. It was an interesting discussion. He was very candid. I appreciated that. But he talked a lot about his concussions and having to give up football and how difficult that was. So hopefully I can kind of. It's not anything I have to write before the game, but hopefully it's something I'll get out there depending on what happens on the schedule.
It's an interesting story just as far as a guy that gave up football for a year, basically took one for the team, to think that he was going to come back and probably win the starting job or at least compete for the starting job, and then split it with Creed, and the rest is history. He had to give up football and only got 4 games in this year, or 5 games, whatever it was. So it was kind of I don't know, it's kind of a sad story now that he kind of has to look basically for the rest of his life. Football's not going to be a part of it now.
And Kyler did practice today. He looked fine, threw the ball around. Marquise Brown practiced today. Ran around. I mean, we only saw them do individual drills before we left.
The one thing I would say about Marquise Brown is I don't notice any limp when he's walking. Just
That's
walking
true.
to and
That's true.
from and to
it's
the
like
bus
you always
and stuff
read
like that.
It's just like your famous it's a lot like your famous roast. You murdered Orange Power, was that his name?
Oh, God, what was that guy's name?
Something
Orange Factor.
Orange Factor. You ruined him by producing that Joe Mixon video of him walking at a basketball game.
Well, no, I ruined Orange Factor when I outed his actual name.
Okay, yeah.
Austin, whatever.
You turned him into a ghost and then you exorcised him.
Yeah, that is true.
But
what's up, Catch?
But that was the thing. Like, you played that video and people were like, I don't know. It looks like he's limping a little bit. Like, and DeMarco Murray was the same way. He had a strange kind of hitch in his
Kyler Murray walks the exact same way as Joe Mixon.
Yes.
It's like like they almost have something up their ass. And I don't mean that to say be funny, but that's just kind of the way that they walk.
It's a cool guy thing.
I think it is. It's like if you're a badass, you walk around like that with your chest out.
You develop a little hitch in your get along.
I for the most part, guys, they're as healthy as they've been in a long time.
Right.
I mean, you had the story yesterday about Trey Sermon talking about how healthy he is. I can't think of anybody outside. Oh, there's one guy. We saw Justin Broyles out on the practice field yesterday. I'm not so sure he's probably not iffy. I just don't know how much he's going to play.
And I don't think he would have been in the game plan anyway.
This is a tough team for him to go against.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Khalil Houghton was sitting out. Again, not sitting out, but he was not dressed out, and he's done. I mean, we've talked about that quite a bit.
And you even had Carey Cooks say that flat out.
Did you? He said that?
Yes. They lost a starting safety midway through the season, and they're not getting him back.
Yeah, that's a bad deal. It is what it is. This defense, and we can probably get into it more, like the actual breakdown of the game here in the next couple podcasts before the game, but it comes down to defensive stops to me, and this defense is what it is. They're going to have to come up with some pressure. They're going to have to come up with some turnovers. It's more about that front 7 than it is the back 5 to me, or the back 4 to me, because, I mean, they're not going to come up with 12 pass breakups and 3 interceptions. It just, there's nothing that tells me that's going to happen. So it is what it is back there. Some of those guys are going to struggle. Some of them are going to, can they just get away with not being exposed in the worst way, I guess would be the best way to put it. I mean, Jerry Jeudy's going to have 200 yards. I firmly believe that.
He's the scariest guy to me on that entire. It's not.
I mean, you think Tylan Wallace had a good day?
Williams. I mean, he's Tylan Wallace times 2 to me.
Yeah, and that's just the way it is. That's why can you get pressure on Tua, who I don't think is going to beat you, obviously, with his feet. I mean, the guy had surgery a month ago.
Well, and even when he was healthy, he's not a super dynamic guy. I don't even know if he's as dynamic a runner as Baker was. I mean, I think that's an equal comparison, really.
Yeah, you don't want to take some cheap shots at him, but you certainly aren't telling people not to tackle him at the feet, and that's just the way it is. That's
Go low.
That's the game that you play. That's the game that you play. It's football.
All right. Well,
they're going to be doing the same with Marquise Brown.
He's too fired up. We're going to get out of here. Thanks for listening.
I'm standing up, folks.
We'll be back again tomorrow for another podcast, Eskridge Lexus Postgame Podcast. We are putting all these on the Eskridge Lexus Postgame page, so that's where you'll get them. We'll tweet out the link, so don't worry about all that stuff. But if you're a subscriber to the Eskridge Lexus Postgame, you will get these safe and sound to your podcasting device. So thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. It is Thursday, tomorrow for Friday, after the Nick Saban and Lincoln Riley press conferences. So looking forward to that. And then, of course, the game coming up on Saturday. So thanks for listening. Live from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, we are the Sooner Scoop crew. We'll be back tomorrow.